is in chaos. It's 1195 and Emperor Isaac II has just been overthrown. His bro Alexios III came to the throne, blinded Isaac, and he wasn't much better either. And things outside of the Roman Empire were getting worse as well. Throughout the Second and Third Crusades, which I've made videos on, the relations between the Germans and the Romans got worse. But nevertheless, they followed Conrad. Conrad was allowed through Hungary, but when they finally reached Constantinople, Emperor Manuel I had the feeling that Conrad would attack him, and then they fought each other in the Battle of Constantinople. The Romans fled. The Romans kept fleeing as the Germans approached. Fred got a letter from Isaac, accusing him of many things, but also putting his son on the throne of Constantinople. Frederick had enough, burning the land and seizing Philippopolis and its supplies. Adding that Cyprus used to be governed by the Romans and Richard of England just sort of gave it to King Guy. And remember the agreement? Well, after Saladin died, the Ayyubid Empire was split up and the ruler of Egypt, Al-Aziz Uthman, agreed to extend the agreement with Henry II of Jerusalem. However, the Germans arrived and attacked Al-Adil of Damascus, who decided to take Jaffa because he thought Henry was up to this as well. But Henry died and was succeeded by Amri, who made a peace with Al-Adil which would expire in 1204. While in that time, Al-Adil would reunite the Ayyubid lands back to Constantinople, which is the greatest city of Christianity and an extremely wealthy trading centre. It was also very defended by the Theodosian world, and Venice wanted to obtain it to get some money. Back in Rome, a newly elected Pope Innocent made it his mission to set up another crusade, but his call was first ignored, but eventually an army was organised with Boniface of Montferrat leading them. He sent envoys to Venice, Genoa and other Italian states to negotiate a contract for transport to Egypt, namely by building a massive fleet. Venice agreed to help out, and the leader of Venice, Enrico Dandolo, declared that now was the time for Venice to set up influence in Palestine. The preparations took a full year and involved building numerous ships and training all the men who would sail them. The Crusader army was expected to number 33,000 men. The majority of the army that set out from Venice was mainly from French lands. The crusade was ready to go, and it was going to go straight to the Ayyubid capital Cairo, and the Pope confirmed this and told them not to mess around. Some of the army set sail from other cities, but the bulk of the army arrived in Venice, and as promised were left with 450 transports. Dandolo told them to pay up, but they couldn't pay it all, but he threatened to intern them, so Boniface took more gold from his men. Even though Boniface's men were now starving, it still was not enough, so he gave them an offer. They could take the city of Zara, which used to be part of Venice, but was now under the protection of King Emmerich of Hungary. However, many of the Crusaders did not want to do this, and some of them left for home. Cardinal Peter of Capua said this attack was necessary to prevent a complete failure, but Innocent was pissed, and he told Peter he would excommunicate all of them if they attacked Zara. He sent this letter back, but by the time it arrived, the Crusaders had already begun to attack Zara. The city fell November 1202, and it was demolished by the Venetians. Boniface, however, went to visit his cousin Philip of Swabia, and it turns out Isaac II's son Alexios Angelos was with Philip as well, and he offered Boniface and the entire Crusader army at Zara that he would pay the full price of the debt, give 10,000 troops, take the Crusaders straight to Egypt, and even promising to place the entire Eastern Orthodox Church back under the Pope's authority if the Crusaders went to Constantinople and overthrew Alexios III for him. Basically, Alexios Angelos was distracting the Crusaders from what they were meant to be doing, and was promising them stuff if they helped him return to power in Constantinople. And Boniface agreed. Alexios Angelos joined the crusade at Corfu, and encouraged by Dandolo's bribes, the rest of the army also accepted. However, few opposed this plan and sailed on to Syria. That small force in the Holy Land would actually go on to do not very much at all. At last, on the 23rd of June 1203, a massive army arrived at Constantinople with the goal of getting Alexios IV back on the imperial throne so he could pay them. Constantinople under Alexios III was unprepared. First, the Crusaders took the surrounding suburbs and sailed into the Bosphorus. Alexios III had lined up an army at the shore, and they laid siege. They took the area and the Tower of Galata, and they took positions, and then the area was set on fire. Alexios III fled from Constantinople into Thrace, and the Crusaders insisted Alexios Angelos became co-emperor with his father Isaac II. Unfortunately, the new Alexios IV realized his promise was hard to keep because Alexios III took loads of the treasure when he fled to Thrace. Alexios IV, fearful for his life, asked the Crusaders to give him 6 more months. Then Alexios IV set out to track Alexios III in Adrianople, and the Venetians re-entered Constantinople, attacked a mosque, and another fire left 100,000 people homeless. The blind Isaac II died, and Alexios III's son-in-law Alexius Ducas overthrew Alexios IV, put him in prison, and had him strangled to death. The Crusaders, still needing a payment, asked Alexios Ducas, now Alexios V, to pay up, and he said no, so the Crusaders attacked Constantinople again. Bad weather, however, pushed them back. Nevertheless, Alexios V fled the city. At last, the Crusaders, after a short battle, entered Constantinople. On the 13th of April 1204, the entire city was taken, and for 3 days the population was murdered, works of history were destroyed or taken, and churches were looted. The Roman Empire was split. The Latin Empire was founded by Baldwin of Flanders, Boniface founded the Kingdom of Thessalonica, and Byzantine refugees established their own state like the Empire of Nicaea or Trebizond. Many other Italian states swept in to occupy small cities, and some of the cities captured by Venice would stay with them all the way until 1797. The Roman Empire would never recover. Constantinople, once the beacon of Christianity and a wealthy trade capital, even after the restoration by Michael VIII in 1261, would remain a shadow of what it once was. And though Michael VIII had restored the old Roman Empire, there was soon to be a new Muslim force in Anatolia.